Welcome to the program.
Hi, thank you for having me.
How'd you get into theater?
It's a good question. It's funny because looking back, I tried to pinpoint the exact moment every once in a while. It's like you never really think, okay, this is the moment where I got in it. You know, this is the moment I'm going to remember.
What did you do? Like, as your kid or something like that? No.
In middle school, I had a friend who did theater, and I thought, that's the dumbest thing. Oh, you have to memorize that? That's so dumb. Why do you have to memorize all that? That's like so much homework. But then in my freshman year of high school, I actually did FFA, but I had made friends with a girl who we both had a passion for Judy Garland, and we just kind of admired the acting that she did and stuff like that. And then at the exact same time, we were having to do a project in one of my classes about, what do you want your future career to be? Right. So I took one of those tests, and one of them said to be a set designer. And I was like, I don't. Yeah. So I kind of looked into it, and I thought that would be really cool. Kind of do design, get to pick out all the details. And so I looked into that and ended up getting into theater my sophomore year, the first semester, to kind of do the technical side. But they made me take acting 1 first. Right. And by the end of the semester, I was like, wow, I kind of like this acting thing. So I was like, maybe I'll give that a try. So I auditioned for the advanced class, and I made it, and I was in my first show the second semester of my sophomore year, and it kind of just took off from there. So, immediately fell in love with it. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly. But you still do the tech
stuff, though, right?
Yeah, a little bit. At SAM, I like to get involved with. I'm work in the costume shop. Yes. I've also done the stage managing side of it, and we've had to take classes, building the set and doing house management stuff. So I like to keep in the technical aspect of it.
Although I hear the horror stories, was it the costume history class? This is the class that's the killer class.
It's Chris Hansen's costume history class. Yep. I made a B. A very strong B. I'm very proud of that because she's told us stories about people who've taken it and failed it 2 or 3 times.
I've heard that. Yes.
Yeah, so I went in, which I also kind of have a passion for it. Like watching, she told us going into that class, she said, anytime you watch a movie now and there's, a period piece, you're never going to look at it the same. And I've watched a lot of classic movies, and of course there's tons of period pieces.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So I kind of went into it kind of like excited, like I want to know what these movies do wrong. And so I actually enjoyed it a lot. And I think that's one reason that kept me going and kept me from failing that class. Wow. Is that I kind of had the passion for it a little bit.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a clue, except that, when Downton Abbey came on, and this is how we discovered it. We're in Vermont. And it's Christmas, nothing to do. I mean, not Christmas Day, but, flipping channels. And I come across this period piece. And I said, same story. I've seen this before. But there was something different about it. Yeah. And it mesmerized me. I started watching it again. Carolyn comes downstairs. What are you watching? So we both start watching it. But the thing is, this is upstairs, downstairs. This is retold again, but it was different. Yeah. It's edited differently. Of course, attention to detail was very important, but no, it's edited very differently.
Yeah, that's the one with Maggie Smith, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I keep wanting to watch it, but there's so many TV shows I was just like, watch this one and this one and this one. But that's one of them that I'm like, in the back of my mind, I wish I had kind of jumped on board.
So when do you even have time to watch TV? You sound pretty busy.
I am. It's like, I'm doing the show here and I'm working morning, evening, 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. right now. And I've had plenty of people be like, oh, you're crazy, you're so busy. Honestly, though, this has been a break for me. Because last semester, I was taking 21 hours.
21?
Three of which was stage managing a show at the top of the semester. Right. But I was also working 2 jobs at the same time. So this has actually been kind of...
the show, you're the 2 jobs and...
so this has been kind of a break for me. But I think right when school ended, right before I kind of picked up the new department at work, is when I had time. So I ended up finishing 4 different TV shows at that. So I have my moments when I find a little bit of time to binge watch something.
You know what? That's the greatest thing, is to binge watch. So we just finished Person of Interest. Yeah, and so it's like, okay, we haven't seen the first 4 seasons. We caught up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's great. After I did that, though, right after I finished those 4 shows, one of my friends said, let's get into Penny Dreadful. And I was like, I'd love to. I'm a little burned out on TV right now. Like, next time around. Catch me next time around.
What is it when you see the show? Are you just for the pure enjoyment, or do you actually look at it with a critical eye?
I do look at it from a critical eye every once in a while, especially with things. My favorite thing to really look at in great detail is American Horror Story.
Okay.
Because every season is its own story. They change,
Really? Yeah.
they change stories. Some of the actors will come back and play different characters. And so I kind of like to compare each season and find out, what worked best, why I like this one or why this one is more visually appealing. And then Ryan Murphy, he also did Glee.
Yes.
And so it's really interesting to see him do American Horror Story and Glee, but still find the similarities, because he does a lot of the same camera work in both of them, especially with, I think it was season 4 of American Horror Story. There's just camera angles, the way he cuts is so similar. So it's really interesting to start seeing directors and writers and how you can kind of pinpoint, okay, that's definitely his type of work.
So when you want to do this professionally, is it acting, or do you want to do like the stage management / set design or whatever?
I kind of want to do the acting / stage managing. I'd like to try my hand at directing. I took a directing 1 class at Sam. I'm about to take directing 2. And so far, I kind of like that aspect of it. I honestly didn't know anything about stage managing until my second semester freshman year at Sam, and I kind of found that I kind of loved it. I don't love it as much as acting, but it's something
you gotta be
about
almost OCD.
Still...
been there, done that.
But
to me, when I was stage manager, the best times were during performance, because now it's a beautiful dance, and you're in control. And because technically it's your show now. It's my show, and this is how. And when it goes smoothly, nothing like
then it feels good.
But it's different.
Like,
Obviously, it's different in getting the applause and stuff like that. Absolutely.
But it's still great, because it's
and
getting the actor.
They're actually jobs. You can actually get paid.
That's one reason that I'm kind of keeping on with the stage managing career path is a secondary, because 2 or 3 summers ago I spent the summer in Seattle, and I got to volunteer at a youth theater and assistant stage manager there, and they asked me to come back, and that was a lot of fun. And just it's like, as an actor, you still get that cast appreciation, but you're also getting the applause. But for some reason, to stage managing, you get that extra cast appreciation, because they know most of the time how much stuff you have to do, and it feels like you're more inserted to a family between the actors and the director and the designers. And so I think that's probably the thing I love most about stage managing is you get to also get to know the designers and the directors more than you would as an actor.
So if you had to design a show, like from a set perspective?
Only at Sam, only if you are a designer major, which I'm not. So I don't think I will be designing a show. I did take a costume design class, though. That was very hard. Same teacher as costume history.
Of course,
Chris Hansen. She's semi my boss, and I was like, I love her, but oh Lord, that was hard. It was a hard class.
So what's hard about it? Is that just the attention to detail, or is it what is it? The demand? What is it?
A lot of work goes into designing whenever you have to, draw everything out. And Lord knows I'm not an artist. I can't draw to save my life. But I think the hardest part was the very last project that she had us do is we had to she was the director. And so she said, this is my idea. You can find any kind of twist you want. You can use like movie influence, book influence, TV show, but you have to make it go along with my idea. And that was the hardest part, because she would shoot you down in a second if it didn't go along correctly. So that was hard, was really finding a way to match what she had in mind. And that's what I feel like a lot of designers have to work with directors on is making that, that middle connection between two ideas.
Well, it's kind of interesting because, the organization, I mean, there is a typical structure to theater, but this personal dynamic of how much freedom each group or discipline has, this is the tech director, and this is what we do, we're the costume designer, we're set design, but at the end of the day, it all has to work together. I mean, we can only cost so much because we only have a finite amount of resources. It doesn't matter where you are, right? Even if you have a $6 million budget, say like for Spider-Man or whatever, but still, you still have to, and then it's the vision versus what you can actually achieve. In the space that you happen to be in.
Yeah.
Interesting things.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see different, which working in the costume shop, you know, we go through 4 or 5 shows a semester, and it's interesting to see some directors come in and they're like, yeah, whatever you say, it's good, it looks good. And then there's some directors come in and they say, you know, no, I need this, I want this. So it's interesting to see that dynamic. But one show, you were talking about everything working together. I think it was the second show that I stage managed. We did Mock and All. Right. And that, I think that was the most cohesive I've ever seen designers and directors and even actors all work together, and we ended up taking it to competition, and even, you know, the judges and critics were like, this is probably one of the most cohesive shows we have ever seen, and it was really cool to see all that come together. Yeah, because we used projections. They were using, I forget what it's called exactly, but almost like grayscale body paint on all the end. It's
tough. It's harder than people think. Yeah. It's like, we're just gonna do black and white. Not quite.
And then to light that kind of thing, you know. But it was really cool I think that was one of the most fun shows to see all the, you know, technical aspects come together.
What do you do when you're not doing theater?
It's a great question. I'm working a lot.
But that's more of a necessity.
Yeah,
right?
Which right now, I've had the good fortune of working enough that I'm going to be able to graduate college 0 in debt.
Debt?
Yeah,
Excellent.
so that's one reason that everybody's, you know, I'm always working, because I'd rather, you know, kill myself now working as much as I can and graduate with no debts than graduate and think, you know, I'm trying to start out, figure out where to go, save money and still paying all that off. I have a passion for classic movies. That's what oh gosh, there's so many good ones. Gone with the Wind, obviously.
Of course.
I tend to go through, I'll find a certain actor or actress that I like, and I tend to watch all of their filmography.
So who are you into right now?
Right now, I'm kind of on the tail end of going through all Ginger Rogers movies. Okay. I had just gone through Maureen O'Hara and Deborah Carr and Olivia de Havilland and Joan Crawford. A lot of people don't like Joan Crawford.
A lot of strong women roles.
Yeah,
this seems to be a it's a theme here.
Theme going on, yeah. But yeah, no, I'm very much drawn to the strong women roles and movies, and so that's one thing that I'm always looking for is those.
You know, it's kind of interesting. We always talk about, you know, we I know there's sometimes complaints that there aren't good strong women roles, but there have been over the years, but you have to look for them.
Yeah, you really have.
And maybe the parameters that they had, you know, the play were different, but no, they were strong nevertheless. It was no question who was in control.
When it was, Unfortunately, it's the you have to look for them part that, you know, it's, you know, why are we still having to look for the strong women roles? But they're out there, and I'm one movie that I fell in love with last year is called Carol, and the writer is female, and so it's like it's one of those things where I'm starting to look more now at the female written shows, female directed shows, and because I think there's that need for more women in the industry, which is it's happening slowly.
It is happening, but it's slow.
So so it's one of those things where we got to keep going. We can't say it's starting to happen and just kind of drop out. You know, we gotta all keep it going.
Well, because it seems all too easy to get into stereotypes. You know, like, you know, Asian actor does this, you know, and a female does this, you know, and put everybody in bins, because we love, you know, everybody in bins.
Label everything,
but it's too easy, you know. The really good writing, and it can be harder too, whether it's critical success or not, is, like I said, to get these really good roles, irrespective of race or sex, or, you know.
And one thing that I think a lot of people... it's also kind of put into that bin is when you say strong woman role.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? They think,
she's wearing pants. I mean, what is? No.
Or she's fighting and kicking butt, and it's like, that's great, but that didn't.
That's not all there is to being a strong woman.
Strong woman roles can be any woman who goes through a bunch of stuff. She cries, she laughs, she's strong, she can be weak, but it's still a strong woman role because you see her go through all these emotions, all these changes, and she has an actual arc in the character.
Yeah. Do you write a diary, or how do you record yourself?
I've tried.
Not into it.
Many times over the years, and for some reason I can never keep it up. I even had my mentor give me one, and, you know, I kept up with it for a few weeks, and it just kind of fell away. And I think part of it is sometimes I get so busy where if I think I'm going to do it at night, I get home and I'm exhausted and I just go straight to bed. I do have a private blog. I don't know if you've heard of Tumblr, but it's just a place to
so that is essentially it's just an electronic diary.
Yeah, it's like an electronic diary where you just get to talk about what you did that day, or if you're having a hard day, or even stuff you like. Like if I find a new movie, I usually go on there and I'm like, okay, I got to talk all about this movie because I'm in love with this movie. Yeah. So. And
when you look back at the blog some years back, what do you find about yourself?
I find moments that I wish I could go back and
note to self.
Yeah, note to self or things like that. It's funny because the Facebook on this day thing, I look back and sometimes I'm like, shh. I'm like, no, why? I was like, why didn't my friends... Yes, I'm like, why did my friends shut me up? But it's funny, though, because sometimes, like, I will look back and see something like, oh, but then I'm also like, I see a passion in the things that I love, and I still have that now, and I have to remind myself, don't bottle that up just because you're afraid people are going to be like, oh my gosh, she loves this person or this thing too much. And it's like, no, just enjoy the passion. So that's one thing that, despite some of the Facebook stuff that I'm like, oh, that's so embarrassing. It's like I like to see those sparks of passion that I hope I never lose whenever I'm older.
So, actor, singer, dancer. What do you consider yourself?
Actor.
Yeah.
I've taken one dance class in my life. Yeah. It was ballet. Not this last spring, but the spring before that. I didn't do very well. It was also an 8 a.m. class. I regret that. I thought, dance, I can get up in the morning. I don't actually have to, get ready. I'll just go to dance class. And, it was a big mistake. But I'm not, I would not consider myself a dancer. I took choir whenever I was in elementary school. Right. And apart from the 2 musicals I did in high school, Shrek last year. And then, so I wouldn't consider myself a singer. I've had some people ask why I didn't do musical theater at Sam. And I've just... for some reason, never had that much confidence in my voice, but I definitely consider myself an actor out of the 3.
Because we've talked about that, too. If you talk about the triple threat, and certainly we'll do it if you want to do it professionally, but I guess there's always some, like I said, like we talked to Taylor, she considers more of the singer than the actor and the dancer, although you obviously have to be able to do this kind of thing. Yeah. Actor, singer and dancer. But it seems like you do need to know these other elements. Don't be perfect at them, but to know these other elements. Yeah. And there's some things, like for dance and stuff. You say you didn't really enjoy it, but would you get into tap? Would you get into,
I enjoyed it. I just didn't do it well. Tap, I would love. I've always, and I think it comes from watching all the Roger Fred Astaire movies. I think tap is so beautiful. I feel like I'm very heavy on my feet.
Oh, God.
And for that, you have to be
look at the marks on this floor. Most of the marks on this floor are my tapping, and I go like, "Cat, that's hard."
Well, last year when we did Shrek, I didn't know how to tap. Dinah basically had to help teach me. It took a whole day or a whole rehearsal to do a flap, which is like tap 101 first. I feel like that's the first.
But they also have this shorthand. Right? And so I guess if you've been a dancer for a long time, they just speak in that shorthand. Like anything, whether it's chorus line or Tootsie or, I think of the Goodbye Girl, and kind of thing, okay, we're going to do da-da-da, and okay, and it's like, wait a minute, I lost you. What are you talking about? Because they have that, that language. Yeah. You said you wanted to do directing. What would you bring to directing?
I haven't gotten too much into it. I just feel like there's some shows that, you see really good shows and you see shows that are, okay. And I think part of that is I see some shows and I'm like, I would really love to, have a hand in, you see a good show and you're like, oh, I wish I could have a hand in creating something like that. Or you see another show that you think, it may be good, but I would have done it a little differently. Yes. Or you see, we have a professor, David McTeer at Sam, who he does a lot of experimental type stuff, and he kind of brought the projections on for Mock and All, and it's that kind of thing that I would love to kind of delve more into different ways to do theater rather than the traditional shows, the traditional way of doing theater. I would actually also love to take the traditional shows that everybody knows and put some kind of modern twist or do something really different with it so that people go, oh, no, I've seen, 5 different theaters do that. It's like, this is different.
That's different.
Kind of, yeah. So I think that's one thing that I'd like to try to do is kind of the experimental aspect of it. But yeah, I don't know. I've taken one class and I'm like, I think I kind of like this, but I want to explore it some more. And
so you got a chance to do that at Seattle? Well, you got a chance to.
I got a chance to assistant stage manage, but they do have kind of younger, like my age people, come help assistant direct, and so I'm kind of hoping if I jump on board with that, I can be like, hey, what about this idea, or sometimes they'll give like a scene or two and be like, this scene, this is yours, you go direct it. I want to see what you bring to the table with it, and they'll do that sometimes at SAM if a professor does have a assistant director, which is not all the time, but sometimes. Every once in a while, I'll hear of them being like, they gave me this scene, they said to go work with it. Maybe it's not all theirs, but it's a chance to kind of get their feet wet. Mm-hmm.
You ever want to do film?
I thought about it. I did oh Lord, I can't even remember what it was called. A short film for somebody else at SAM. I never got to see the finished product.
What?
So, yeah. So,
you don't have that? You've been edited out, or you're on the cutting floor?
Who knows? So I don't know how that turned out. It was kind of interesting because I have such a love for classic film, but it's, I don't know if it's definitely not something that I'm going to say no to, but it's also not one of those things where it's like right now it's like, I have to get to film. That's, my main career goal. So kind of, we'll see what happens. So. But I have a friend she's out in California right now, and she's been out there for a couple of years, and she does theater, stage theater, but she's also recently gotten a lot of cast and, a lot of kind of bit roles. But anyway, she's been, extra. Wow. Simple word. She's been cast as an extra in different TV shows and stuff. So I've
a lot of herping weight, yeah.
Yeah, so I've seen her do a lot of that recently, and I'm like, that would be really cool, a cool way to kind of get introduced.
Right.
To film or TVs to be able to do extra.
Somebody mentioned that too, because I guess when you're in California and you have access to that, a lot of people would do commercial work and stuff because you're there, right? Yeah. And so they'd see each other in commercials, and that would be pretty cool. I've seen that. It'd be nice to get residuals.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, that's like they're doing a lot of film work in Louisiana and TV work too. And I was talking. Might have been Kat. I can't remember who I was talking to about this.
Was it CSIs or one of those? Yeah.
Well, I was talking to Kat about it, and they said something about taxes are, different over there, so they're starting to do a lot of
I'm kind of surprised.
SAG and stuff. Yeah. So they did Pitch Perfect 2 over there. Well, Monica went up there, and she's in Pitch Perfect, and you can see her. So we went to see her, and we were all like, oh my God, she's right there. And every time she came up, luckily by the time we had seen, there was like nobody else in the theater, so me and my roommate were like,
oh, gracious.
We
do, I have to admit, we do that.
Cool. Yeah.
We do that. We with friends that would teach at community college. Mm-hmm. And then the summer, they were usually doing some film. And they did tell us about it. Like I said, I'm in Bone, I'm in whatever. Yeah. And so we go watch, our Young Guns, and we go watch the film, and watch, okay, very last scene, this is right, you can remember okay, yeah, I think that's Craig there. That's you. Yeah, especially if you get some lines in there. Would you like to travel, or?
I would love to travel.
Doesn't sound you have time. But
I know, I don't, and I want to travel so much. It's like I have the travel bug, but I haven't been able to.
Where would you go?
First place is Ireland. Me and Monica were actually planning a trip next summer, and we've been trying to plan it for a while, but just things with tuition and rent, and I know I'm not going to be able to swing it yet, but Ireland would be the first place.
Why Ireland?
I just think it's so, just seeing pictures of it, it's so beautiful. And one of my favorite films of all time is The Quiet Man with Maureen O'Hara. Yeah, and John Wayne. Yeah. But there's just a charm about it that I love peaceful green scenery. And just especially with I think part of it is the hectic life that I have right now. It'd be just nice to go out somewhere and just peacefully travel the countryside. And I feel like they have, sights and sounds that we probably don't have around here. Right. And I think that's one reason that I love Seattle. Right. It's probably the farthest I've ever.
So how do you put up with the rain?
Traveled. Oh, I love the rain.
You love the rain.
I love the rain. Yeah, when I spent the summer there, though, they always joke that July 4th is when their summer starts. Okay. But it's true. The summer that I went, though, they actually had an early summer. So I was there at the beginning of May, and it was still kind of rainy until mid-June, and then it got really warm. It's actually they had their warmest summer, and everybody was like, "Oh God, it's hot," and I'm over here going, "It's great! You guys don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know what hot is.
You don't know what hot is, yeah." But they have a really, really nice summer that it doesn't hardly rain at all for there for two or 3 months. But otherwise, I I could put up with it. I love it. Even since I was little, I was like, I want to go to Seattle because it rains all the time. But yeah,
What's the art scene like there?
I've heard it's really good. I saw 1 or 2 shows while I spent the summer there because I was doing the volunteer work and I was working full time. Of course, so I didn't get to do a lot. But, I've talked to theater professors at SAM and they said, it's one of, they talk about New York, Chicago, Houston, Seattle. It's one of... Seattle's
on that list.
Yeah, it's on the list. So, and one thing that I love about it is outside of Houston, you can't travel very far before you stop finding paid theater jobs. Yeah. Well, in Seattle, though, you can travel 30, 45 minutes outside the city and still find theater jobs that are paid.
Wow.
So, yeah, I feel like their theater industry there is pretty good. Mm-hmm. So it'd be a nice place to start. I've heard, I haven't really heard examples, but I've heard by word of mouth that, they're starting to do some filming stuff up there as well. But I just feel like it would be a good kind of place to go.
I hear such good things about it. I've never been there long enough to say I've been in Seattle. It's usually just passing through. Yeah. Oh, I love it. And I love going down to Pike's Market and, you get to see all the street performers and things like that. And it's just, there's just a charm about it that I love so much. And I think it might be, the big city right by the ocean. You travel 30 minutes and you're in the mountains. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like you get a little bit of everything and you don't have to travel very far. So sounds like that's like a neat place.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful. If you can go visit for a long while, I recommend it to everybody.
And that was a paid announcement.
For Seattle, they didn't pay me for that.
How much? You don't have that long, but a year to go. What?
Yeah, I have 1 year left, and I'm done.
Oh my goodness! And then you're out and
in the real world.
Don't want to go to grad school? Nah, none of that. Yeah.
I've had people ask me that, and for right now, no. I've heard one of the big reasons you would want to go to grad school is if you want to be a teacher or a professor in college. I've tried. Well, not really tried. I just remember this one moment in middle school in math where, we had to figure out a problem and, I was one of the first ones like, okay, I'm done. She goes, good, now get up in front of the class and teach everybody how you got there. Yeah. And I got up there and I went, I don't know, I just got it. So, but since then, in the high school that I was at, they started pushing the idea of, kind of student-led conversations and lessons and stuff like that. And I found I was never really good at teaching other people stuff. So I feel like, I know my parents would love it if I would be a teacher, but I just feel like I wouldn't be able to do it properly, do teaching justice. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but that's one of the reasons I've never really looked into grad school is because I don't see myself going down the teaching path, at least right now. But after I graduate, I kind of have 2 semi-plans. My home base will go back with my family in Fort Worth. I would love... Oh,
you're from Fort Worth?
Yeah, Fort Worth, yep.
Oh my goodness, we always talk about, Fort Worth is kind of interesting. It's the town that doesn't put on airs. Mm. If you understand what I mean. Like Dallas always, we're always trying to be like a Me Too kind of town, right? Yeah. We want to be like New York or Chicago, but Fort Worth, we don't care. We don't care.
But they
have such wonderful resources, between the Bass Brothers and that whole arts district, all the different museums that you have. It has a nice feel. I used to like to go to Casa Mañana to see shows.
Yeah, we do have good little, because we have Casa Mañana, we have Bass Hall, which that's more of shows coming to the area. But I loved going to Bass Hall for that, for all that. But I never visited Dallas much.
Why would you do that? Except go on the train, you can take Trinity Railway Express and go back and forth, which people started doing, when they had that.
But I'm definitely one of those people. Oh, you're from the Dallas-Fort Worth area? Yeah, Fort Worth.
The Fort Worth part of it.
Yeah,
the Fort Worth part.
Which we're Burleson. We're the very next town.
Been there, done that. Hey, been there, done that.
So I'm always like, Fort Worth. But I'll move home base back to good old Fort Worth. But I would love to try to get a job on the cruise ships out of Galveston. Mm-hmm. Whether it's, acting in one of the shows or stage managing or doing something technical or even just because that's a great way for you to get a good paycheck and not spend it because you're on the boat.
That's right.
How are you going to spend it? So
great experience.
It'd be. I think it'd be really fun. I've never been on a cruise ship, so it's also one of those things where it's like, hopefully, I don't have seasickness. I don't think I do. That would be really funny to get a job and then like day 2, you're like, oh god, I don't think I could do. But yeah, because my ultimate goal is to, once I can save up enough, is to relocate to Seattle, which I have lots of family up there, but it's...
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so, but I think that'd be a great way to make a lot of money as quickly as possible.
Now, they have the ships, but I guess they go to Alaska, right? So the cruise ship that goes to Alaska goes out of Seattle, right?
I've heard a lot about those. Yeah. While I was up there, and the full-time job that I actually worked while I was up there that summer, I worked with a lot of tourists, and so I'd ask, while you're here visiting the falls, waterfalls, what else do you do? And they were like, we're going on an Alaskan cruise, and so I've heard from so many people that those cruises are just gorgeous and beautiful, and I was like,
never been, but heard awesome.
So I've heard, so maybe even if I get up there, maybe I can go work on a cruise ship first, or take a trip, because I've just heard so much about it. I'm like, I wish I could go. I can't, but I wish. Again, the travel, I wish. But I can't. Because it takes money.
I know, and it's a different experience being on a crew, but still, at least you'd be able to get places.
Yeah. And I've heard from some people, you don't always get to get off ship, or maybe you don't get to get off for as long as other people do. Right. But even then, I was like, I will take what I can get travel-wise.
Yep.
So for me, it's like, I'm not going to complain. If it's an experience, it's an experience and I'm happy.
Right.
So no matter the work.
Have you been to New York? So you've been
I've never been to New York.
So you haven't seen a Broadway show?
No.
No.
No, I've seen some shows come through Bass Hall. But I've never had the chance to.
Yeah, so we got to get you to different places. Yeah. So you're too busy working. Yeah.
Yeah.
But trust me, I think that's a great objective, trying to not to leave college without debt. I don't know how many years we had spent paying off college debt, and we really didn't have that much college debt. I don't know how people do it.
Yeah, because I have some friends who they go to private schools,
right?
And private schools are so much more expensive, and I was like, that that would have been really cool to go to a private school, but I couldn't stomach leaving with that much debt, because it's, especially nowadays, it's higher and harder to pay it off. So I was like, I like Sam. I'm happy with it. I'm really happy with it.
I think it's a great school. It's almost this wonderful gem that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah.
And they keep adding. I go there. They had the new dance building they just put up?
Yeah, the PAC, the Performing Arts Center. Yeah, so they had, I think they may have, I know they have band in there, and dance, and theater has some rooms. Oh, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful center. Yeah, I'm in high school. Whenever I was trying to figure out, I was like, I don't even know where to start looking at colleges. Well, our choir teacher, who I got to know through working on the musicals, I asked her, I said, Dr. Baker, you're a doctor. Yeah. You'll know a good school, right? So I told her I wanted to stay in Texas, and she recommended Sam, and I went and did a tour, and I got to talk to Maureen McIntyre and Liz Fries, who Liz just finished her last year there. So they're both gone, but I mean, just talking to them and seeing the theater space, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. By the time I was supposed to go tour Texas State, but on the way home, I said, Mom, this is it. I said, cancel the tour. I'm done. Yeah, I'm here. This is where I want to. The only other place that I toured was Texas Tech, which was a 5-hour drive into the middle of nowhere.
Been there, done that.
Even on the way there, I was like, Dad, I can't. I can't.
It's all red dust everywhere. What the hell?
Yeah. So even though I only toured 2 schools, I was very, very happy with choosing Sam, and even since then, we're on a first name basis with our professors, and so I think it's just a great environment, because I feel like they're really there to help us, get the most out of what we can while we're in school. So
you're so busy, but if you had to tell someone something that they don't know about you that you want them to know, what would you tell them?
I've had this question sometimes, and I'm like, I don't know.
You're kidding.
I for some reason, I never know, because I'm kind of an open person. I may not, spill everything, but if you ask, I'll tell you. So a lot of people, if they ask, they know who I am. One thing that I always like to tell people is, whenever I was younger, elementary and middle school, I was a cowgirl. I was the cowgirl. I wore the boots and the jeans with the belt buckle and the cowgirl hat. And
oh my goodness.
We have one horse. We had 2 for a while. One of them just passed away. But when I was younger, I was all about the horses. I even subscribed to little cowgirl horror. There was some horse
Right,
club, something.
Yeah.
I subscribed to it.
Right.
I was the cowgirl when I was younger.
So during that time, what was your music interests? Were you country music?
Country,
really?
yeah. I think
classic, or is this the young country, or what was it?
Country at the time, whenever I was younger, I really liked it, but I also liked some of the older country. Like one of my favorite singers of all times, even now I don't listen to a lot of country because I feel like a lot of the male singers all sound the same.
Sounds like rock to me, rock and roll of the 70s.
Yeah, it's starting to, it's really starting to change, but, and I still love her now, but I think the first singer that I was like, oh my God, I love them so much, Reba McEntire. So, of course, she's been around for a while.
Yes.
So I went back and started listening to some of her older stuff, and then that kind of got me into Dolly Parton and some of her older stuff. And so I really liked country music at the time that it was, and then, some of the older stuff. Definitely, I was all the way. But I think that came from my parents. My mom listens to country, so when we were in the car, that was the only thing that was ever on. Yeah. Right. Was country. So.
And now on your station, what's on your station now?
My radio doesn't work, so it's whatever's on my phone. I listen to a little bit of everything. I'll sometimes still listen to Reba stuff. I'll listen to obviously soundtracks for shows, Broadway and stuff like that. I also like some certain Irish music. There's a lot of singers from England that I really like, and some of it might be called kind of like alternative. Mumford & Sons, love Mumford & Sons, love Paloma Faith. She is amazing. There was somebody else who I cannot remember. But I also like classical stuff. I like listening to soundtracks for movies, just instrumental. So it's
some awesome
really,
music that way.
Yeah, always some beautiful music like that. So there's just a little bit here and there that I like. I like a lot, except for like screamo and like the really hard stuff.
Right.
But other than that, I'm pretty open to music. It's kind of just depends on whatever I feel like. I'm
trying to figure out the appeal of Hamilton. It is, for whatever reason, it's big now. But I mean, this is not, we were just talking about this, Catherine. This is not the first time Lin-Manuel's tried this format. He's tried it in different ways, but it hasn't been as successful. And for some reason, the timing is just right. Yeah.
I love the soundtrack. I've actually not listened to all of it.
Right.
For some reason, I've just been going bit by bit. So I'll listen to like 2 or 3 songs, and I really love those, and I'll listen to them a bunch. So I'm like, okay, I got to listen to some. So I'll listen to 2 or 3 more songs. So I still haven't gotten through the whole album, but it's funny because I think like 2 or 3 weeks before it kind of blew up and it kind of became this big thing all at once. Our professor mentioned him early, David McTeer, showed us a clip of it in class because he always did these little tasty treats at the beginning of class, and he'd show these videos of different stuff. And this was one of them, and he was like, guys, look, this is really cool. It's like a period piece, but it's like modern day music and like rapping. And so we were watching that and we're like, wow, that's really cool. And so we didn't think anything. And 2-3 weeks later, it kind of blew up, and I was like, that's what he was showing us. So I don't know. I actually don't know anything about In the Heights, which was his.
Don't know it. I know people love it. But
he had done. So I'm not really familiar with his formula, but there's just. I think the more you listen to it, the more you love it, and it's kind of the idea of the way they cast it and the way they. I'm not sure what I can't pinpoint. Like you said, what the appeal of it is, but
I'm not into rap, but the movement, it's the lyrics. I mean, it's very fast kind of stuff. But at the same time, we're conveying history, but it has its moment. It's a lot of things.
Moment of drama. Yeah, it's like bringing drama to history. That's what theater is. Drama is. That's I think part of it is not all of it's rap, and it's also sometimes some of it that you listen to, you're like one of my favorite songs is Yorktown.
Right.
And there's a section in it that you're like, yeah, that's definitely rap. But other parts of it, you really just don't think, I don't think of some parts of it as rap. I don't know what I would call it.
Right.
But it's just really cool, and it's also cool to sing along to. You're like, yeah, I can sing all this. I can keep up with them, yeah.
What part do you want to do that you haven't done yet in theater? Anything, musical, straight plays.
Oh gosh, there's a lot of roles for older women that I would love to play. One of them is
You'll get.
Mama.
Don't worry about it. You're gonna get there.
So it's like right now I don't know anything like age appropriate. Nothing pops to mind, but like shows that I look forward to be able to do in the future is Mamma Mia.
Yes.
Play oh God, I can't think of her name. Meryl Streep's role.
Yeah.
There's also the one in the movie with the short brown hair who sings "Does Your Mother Know?"
Okay,
like it's just one of those bit parts, but it's an older woman's part. But it's like I would love to play that. I love like some of the bit roles. They're so much fun. Other ones, one show that I would love to do. It's called Tea and Sympathy. Mm-hmm. And it's a show from the, I want to say 50s. Mm-hmm. But I actually directed a scene for my directing one class. Yep. I directed a scene from it. Mm-hmm. And I would love to be able to play, I think her name's Laura in the play, but I would love to play that role. Oh, well, I mean, Baker's Wife and Into the Woods. I always, just the roles that every girl is like, oh, I'd love to play that role. But yeah, I tell you what though, there is a role that I wish I had done in high school. We did a show called, and they dance real slow in Jackson.
Yes. Yep.
And I can't remember the main girl's name. I feel like it starts, I think it's like, is it Emma or something? I don't know. I can't remember. But the girl in the wheelchair, the main girl. And we were doing that for a one-act play. Right. And, of course, that's the lead role. Yes. Every girl in, the class wanted it. And so we all went to the auditorium. And our theater director sat in the audience and was like, okay, all the girls who want to go audition for it, go up on stage. And, of course, every girl. Yeah. I didn't. I held back. And I was doing a lot of stuff at the time because we just, I think we were just getting into... Oh, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. I had just been cast in that, and there was just a lot going on for me. It was my junior year, which was like the hardest year of high school for me. Mm-hmm. So, and it was also one of those roles where I was like, I feel like that would be a stretch for me, a very difficult role. I'm not confident that I could do it. Right. So I stayed in the audience, and half the girls went up and auditioned. My theater teacher called me over. She said, Are you sure? Are you sure you don't want to audition for this part? Mm-hmm. And so I explained, I don't think I can. She was like, you don't even want to give a crack at it? And I was like, no. She was like, okay. So I went and sat back down. And looking back, the girl who ended up getting the part, she was great. She was fantastic in the part. But it was one of those things where it's like, I wish I could go back and tell myself, you cannot wait till you're ready. Mm-hmm. Nobody, I think this is great advice for anybody. You can't wait till you're ready. Note to self. Yeah, note to self. You cannot wait till you're ready for anything. Because you will honestly probably never be ready for
you may never get another chance.
Yeah, and for anything in life, whether it's, being in a relationship or going, traveling, doing a job, taking a role. So it's like, I wish I could have gone back, and I think that would have been a great learning experience, a great stretch for me as an actor that I wish I had done. And it was it's such a good role, too. So that was one part that I wish I hadn't passed up, at least on auditioning for it. Right. I wish I hadn't passed up the chance.
Well, you said, I think we were talking about this, that you would get certain types of roles because you have a certain look. Yeah.
Well, I don't know that it's a certain look. It's just for some reason.
Or they see you that way. Maybe not the look, but it's they're like, I see Morgan as
as this. And and it started in high school, and I don't know what it was because especially, I think I've grown out of it a little bit as I've gotten older, but especially in high school, I was very shy. Mm-hmm. Very sweet. Not to say that I'm not nice, but maybe I'm not as sweet as I used to be. Right. But for some reason, I was always cast either as the villain or a bitchy role or a sassy role. Right. Like, I think all of the parts that I have ever played in my acting career, half a role did not fit one of those three things. But they're so much fun to play.
Yes, they are. I mean, come on. People, everybody wants to be the lead, but you know what? The character roles, man, you can have a lot of fun. So much fun.
And I think I just have a special love for villains. I don't know why.
Oh, they're fun.
They're fun. So much fun. Like, I had a professor recently go to, I can't remember, I think it was Disneyland. Yeah. And she asked, well, who's your favorite Disney princess? And I was like, well, be honest here. The villains are my favorite. Princesses, they're great, but let's talk about the villains.
Oh my goodness.
But, they were just the most fun, and that's what I've gotten to play a whole bunch of. I think one of my favorite roles I've ever played was in Dearly Departed. Mm-hmm. I played the 80-year-old cranky, come hell or high water. Yep. And I just got to be so mean, and it was just, I just got to be relentless, and it's just so much fun. I think part of that is because in real life, I wouldn't dream of being mean to someone. And sometimes if I feel like I come back and I go, oh my God, was I mean? Do I need to apologize? I'm so sorry. I didn't want it to sound that way. But yeah, it's a chance to do that and not feel bad about it.
No, it's part of the role, right?
Yeah.
You got to do it. Pull it off.
So
oh my goodness.
Just continue it with Vivian. I mean, at the end, I do get to be nice, and that's fun. That's getting to redeem my character. But yeah.
So it's kind of escapism to play these villains, but back to the character. How much of that really is you, and how much is just escapism?
I think inside, a lot of it may be me. It's the me that, like, I know.
You keep bottled up? Okay.
Yeah,
you can only come out at these times, right? Okay, you can come out now. Not anymore. Not anymore. That's it.
It's like maybe you hear somebody you don't particularly like say something or do something, and it's like, you have to be respectful. Of course, you're not going to tell them off or make a nasty comment or give a nasty look, but it's like on the inside, you're doing that. So it's like some of that is definitely, how would I react if I had the chance to just let it out? What would I do?
No repercussions, whatever.
No repercussions.
I get to do whatever.
Not feeling bad. So
right.
So some of it is. Some of it, I've played roles that I would just never dream. In They Dance Real Slow in Jackson, one of the role that I ended up getting, at one point I had to slap this girl who was playing my daughter.
Right.
And we did kind of like a public preview because we were taking the show to contest.
Yes.
So we did a public preview, and at the end of it, our director's sister came up, and she would come in every once in a while and kind of give pointers, like fresh eye look. And she said that there was something missing from our scene because we had this big fight scene and my daughter, runs off. And so she said there's just something missing from it. And my daughter says something. I think she just said that she hated me.
Right.
And so she said, "What if you slapped her on that?" Because it was definitely time period appropriate.
Right.
To kind of heavy hand. Right. So we tried it once, and I was like, I wasn't feeling very comfortable with it. And she said, no, you've got to think about, your daughter just said she hated you, and you're not going to put up with this. And she's like, you've got to really be aggressive and really be mean, and really give it. And I almost started crying. I had to take a moment because I was like, that's not me. If I ever had a daughter,
right,
and she said something like that to me, my first instinct would not be to slap her. It would be probably to grab her and to hug her and just be like, this is not okay, we need to work this out. So that, there are times where you get the role and you've got to think, this is not what I would do, but you've got to look at what the character would do.
Right. Well, looking back on that, would you be able to motivate that differently? I mean, what would you pull from yourself to be able to motivate to get to that moment where you slap her?
I managed to, and I think part of it was...
Well, that's a mechanical thing.
Yeah,
but inside,
inside, I think it's more of finding moments in your life where, maybe in my life I wouldn't have that kind of moment with my mother, or with my daughter. But maybe if there was somebody else in my life who I feel like maybe that would have been an appropriate response to, or... Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to find motivation like that sometimes.
I guess there's for each actor. I'm thinking like is it James Woods? And he's one of the shows, and he's trying to play a bigot, right? Mm-hmm. And he just couldn't find it, and all I end up doing is playing a caricature. That's what he ended up doing. Yeah. But I'm thinking in real life, I was thinking of a friend that we knew, and she was way out there as a kid, and really need to be reined in, and then. Eventually, sometimes when you do that, you become too conservative, and you pass that on to your kid, and then your kid becomes exactly what you were. Yeah. And I think that would have been an appropriate reason for slapping her, but because he really wasn't slapping her, she was really slapping herself. Yeah. To see that, but she had the same thing, that pattern repeated again with her daughter. Yeah. So just way out there, really being reined in, and then went way too conservative, which meant. It's almost like a Bette Midler kind of thing. Yeah. Bette has her stories, but then when she, started raising her kid, nope, you're going to toe this line. Yeah. Because she knew what the consequences. Yeah. So. And
I think part of it for me is those moments when I can't find, a personal experience to draw on. It's really, you just got to sit there and put yourself in that character's shoes, and it's hard to, do that sometimes, but maybe you got to take a moment to yourself and kind of realize, maybe they have this experience that you're not having, and you have to really open yourself up to, how they would handle a situation. Yeah. So it's like sometimes you can draw from your own life, and then sometimes you really have to let go of what you would do completely. Right. I kind of love those type of characters though, right? Because otherwise you feel like, yeah, you get to play this character and it's really fun, but you're also semi-playing yourself.
Right.
Those characters where they're just not you
Right.
are the most fun to play to me. It's because I think that's where a lot of the escapism really comes in, is when you're really not you.
It's not you.
And you don't have to worry about, this is what I do, or, so I kind of, even though they're much more of a challenge, I love the roles where you're totally apart from yourself.
Yeah. What's the best lesson you've learned from a character?
I think with some of the characters that I've had, maybe at the time, especially in high school, whenever I was just starting out,
sure. Mm-hmm.
I was playing them in a semi-character kind of way, or caricature.
Yes,
that word.
Yes,
kind of way, and
this because that's what you do to get through it, the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
Yes,
but then now that I look back at some of them, I have to think, well, they were much more motivated by this.
Right.
And so it's interesting to look back at some of the characters from high school and think, they were realizing stuff that you didn't know about it. Then you're like, oh, I wish I could go back and do it just a little differently, because you just discover those motivations. And I think part of that is just me growing as an actor and learning to, find out more of what motivates them rather than, and I think that between last year and this year, that helped me with Vivian. Because I was talking to Dinah about it. She can't just be the villain and all of a sudden, it's like Whiplash. Oh, just kidding. She's totally with Elle.
Right.
It's one of those things where you've got to understand, she sees Elle as a threat. She's beautiful. She's, got blonde hair and she's perfect and gorgeous. And so the only thing Vivian does is attack, like, her mind and her intelligence and things like that. But once she starts to see that she really is smart and she's really trying, and she kind of turns things around, and eventually when kind of Warren comes after
Vivian was her. Maybe Vivian was her. She already went through that phase.
Yeah, and
right? And she sees it as a threat in that sense.
Yeah. So I think that sense of humanity came from last year or last fall, whenever I did a show. Yeah. The show that I've done at Sam, I was the governor's wife, but I was this great, gorgeous villain who changed her gloves every time she touched something or somebody. And afterwards, I was talking to another director about my performance and was just asking what they thought about it. And they said they missed that little bit of humanity. Because I had a child in the show who I just completely disregarded. And, they said, yeah, she may not care about her kid, but, somewhere in there, we've got to see a little bit of humanity. Yeah. So I really thought about that with Vivian. Right. That, it can't be, that whiplash. You can't, you've got to find the spark of humanity, because Vivian is a real character. The governor's wife may have been much more of a caricature kind, but Vivian's very much, as much of the villain as she is for part of the show, she's very much a real person. Right. So I think you also have to, as an actor, find those moments. If a character is, the caricature kind, or are they, the real human being kind, and how you want to, because some directors will say in different shows, they may say they want a character this way or that way, and you really have to think about which way you want to take that. Yeah.
I was thinking, that for a lot of folks, most people haven't had theater training, but they can tell if the character is authentic or not, because that's what touches them or not. If there's some level of authenticity to that character, or something that touches them that they can relate to. Yeah. And then it's all right. Whatever technique or, inside out or whatever that you decide to get there. Yeah. Or the choices that you make in your character. Doesn't matter, as long as you somehow touch the person and say, yeah, she's okay. Yeah. Yeah. There's a little bit of Vivian in all of us. Yeah.
I think I had one gentleman, I think it might have been Saturday night, when we were out talking to everybody, and he came up and he was like, you were so cold, and and I was like, I think this is a good thing, and he goes, but at the end you were so genuine, and I was like, that is just that one little word, genuine, is probably one of the biggest compliments I could have for Vivian. And I think it also, like you were saying, finding something they can relate to. If you have a whole cast of characters who are all, pretty down to earth, pretty human, that everybody can, work with, but then you have that one character, even if they are the villain, that's just totally, you can't find.
But they can't be totally bad either. Yeah. You don't want them two-dimensional. You don't, totally bad. There has to be some redeeming quality. Yeah.
Especially if everybody else, there is a redeeming quality. Yes. It'll take you out of the show. It'll just take you out. You're like, oh, that's the one that stands out. So you really have to, it's also about working with the other actors and, finding out. And it depends on the show. There are some shows where most of the characters are the caricature kind. So it's okay to go in that direction. Right. It's good. So, but yeah, there's just, and that's one thing that I really thought about in high school is that there's so much more that you have to think about in working with a character, not just yourself, and working with everybody else. And so, I think that's one thing. If I could go back. There's that questioning. If I could go back.
I don't want to go back. Trust me. There's a lot of things I tell myself, but I don't want to go back.
Just whisper it and be like, hey, I'm not actually back. Just think about this, please. You'll appreciate it later.
Well, we're so glad that you're here with us for the summer. I hope you're having a great time. I was just telling the others that, I was listening to Legally Blonde, the Broadway cast album, going up to Dallas, and I had to turn it off. Because I like our version better. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yay! It
was 1 minute, and there's can't take it anymore. Off.
Yeah. I'm glad I came back. Yeah, because getting to work with some of the familiar faces again.
And we have a lot of new faces, too.
Yeah, new faces. So many wonderful people, and Hillary and Austin. Getting to work with people. And it was funny, I've gotten to know Denise better. And Denise worked on Shrek, but she wasn't in Shrek, so I never talked to her.
Right.
And now I'm like, how did I never talk? So, yeah, it's been great getting to work with everybody again.
It's good.
Definitely.
All right. If heaven exists, what do you want God to say when you get to the pearly gates?
I would want him to say something about if I made a difference in somebody else's life. Yeah. That's because I've had a lot of people in my life who I'm like, thank you for being there. You made a difference. I wouldn't be where I am if you weren't there. So I kind of hope I feel like I would have a good meaning, a good purpose in life if I could be someone like that for at least one person.
I'm sure that's the case. We were telling people though that a lot of times it's not the big things; it's the absolute smallest things that you wouldn't even bat an eye at, and you're like, "Really? That changed your life?" And it is. It is amazing, and I'm sure they are. They're there for you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
And we're gonna have a good time tonight.
Yeah.